On it.
Yes, Honorable Chair, beg to move that the long title be amended as per the order paper, and the 92 will read, an act of Parliament to give effect to Article 43(1)(b) of the Constitution to provide a framework for the development and access to affordable housing and institutional housing and for connected purposes. So this, Honorable Chair, there is a deliberate now introduction of institutional housing even to the title of the bill to take care of the institutions that we defined when doing definitions on what institutional housing means.
I therefore propose the question that the long title be amended as proposed by the chair. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this particular amendment because, as has been said by the chair, it brings into the fold now even institutional housing. And Honorable Chair, since I had prosecuted the case for institutional housing, I would only have wished the Housing Committee and the Finance Committee had considered in the long title to consider something to do with job creation or employment creation as part of this, this long title, Honorable Speaker. Because this bill, Honorable Speaker, is not just talking about affordable, institutional and social housing. It's also speaking about job creation. Honorable Speaker, how I wish the chair and the committee had considered to be ingenious in how they will bring in the question of wealth creation, the creation of new home owners, and of course, the value addition that will come with manufacturing, Honorable Speaker, especially in manufacturing around the implements or inputs into the housing projects. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, is the agenda of job creation. Because as I said, this bill is, to me and to many of these people who are here, especially these members of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition, who feel the burden of millions of young people who have no jobs. Honorable Speaker, this bill is about jobs. How I wish the chair and the committee had been found an ingenious way of bringing about the question of employment creation in the long title. Honorable Speaker, may I re-emphasize this bill has a lot to do with jobs and creation of employment. And I want to congratulate the Honorable John Buddy, the Honorable Member for Funyula, the Honorable Elisha Odhiambo, the Honorable CNN, who have withstood the intimidation that they had to go through not to be here, to stand with the people of Kenya and their constituents who are languishing in poverty because they have no jobs. And they have, especially the member for Funyula, and the Honorable Professor Nyikal, who has even moved amendments that touch on this bill, because this is what legislators should be doing. It is better to be here to legislate than running away like cowards, Honorable Speaker. And I thank the chair and I support.
Chair.
Honorable Chair, the sentiments by the Majority Leader are very welcome. However, we did not feel the need to include that in the title because new clause 29F actually expressly provides that the construction, the development of the affordable housing units must ensure that they source labor locally, that they must make sure that they source materials locally. When we went to Vihiga during public hearings, Honorable Speaker, the people of Vihiga told us they have bricks that are locally available there. And so they do not want those houses to be built in Vihiga using machine-cut stones that are not available in the community. They want those locally available materials to be used. We have also expressly provided into 9FC for students who are in vocational training colleges, in polytechnics. We now have an opportunity to get internship and attachment opportunities in this project. And therefore, that is why we not feel the need to provide that in the long title.
I now put the question that the long title be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that the long title as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose the question that the title be the title of the bill. There is an amendment by Honorable Wamushomba.
Majority Leader is distracting me. Chair, please send away the Majority Leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, from my desk. He's the one who is distracting me, so I have lost.
I couldn't see him there. I was wondering whether.
I am here, and I'm just wondering whether we are doing the same business with Kimani Ichung'wah, Majority Leader, who is always coming to my
order
desk.
members.
He is coming
Order
to my
Majority
desk to
Leader.
disrupt me.
Order Wamushomba, move your amendment. Move your amendment.
He came here with an intention to disrupt me.
Order, Honorable Wamushomba. You either move the amendment or drop it.
Let me drop it because I was not following the procedure.
Thank you. Thank you. I therefore will move the title. I will move that the title be the title of the bill. I put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover to move reporting.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. But just for the record, I was not distracting the member for Githunguri.
He came here and I told him I'm married, so let him stay at his desk.
Honorable Chairperson, I don't know who has the mic, Honorable Chairperson, because I hear the member for Githunguri. I know she has a penchant for me, but I am not interested, Honorable Speaker. And I will not
Honorable
want to be near
Kimani
her.
Ichung'wah and
Honorable
Honorable
Chairperson, I beg to
Wamushomba,
move.
please spare us the theatrics. Move the reporting.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable members, I put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Chairperson. Allow the chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Owen Bayer, the Deputy Leader of Majority and member for Kilifi North, to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Speaker, I second this for agreement, and I would like to say that this is a very important piece of legislation that will move this country forward, and therefore I would like to ask every member that wishes this country well, that this country moves forward, that we create jobs, that we create wealth for our young people, and that we modernize this country, that we support this very important piece of legislation. I beg to move.
I beg to
Support. Second.
Thank you, Chair, Committee. Sorry, just a minute. That's it. I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Now let the Chair have a chance. Say something.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole be amended by inserting the words subject to recommittal of clause 41. And I will request Honorable Jerry, the county MP for Kirinyaga, to second.
Honorable Speaker, I note the amendments to clause 41. As it was but in law as good faith is discretionary and is subject to interpretation, inserting that all facts must be within the confines of the law, ring fences the fund from ultra-vires abuse. Thank you. I beg to second.
Thank you, members. I propose the question, which is that the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House be amended by inserting the words subject to the recommittal of clause 41.
Put the question.
Members, I put the question, which is that the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House be amended by inserting the words subject to the committal of clause 41. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Will as many of that opinion say nay? Ayes have it.
Clause 41.
Order, members, this will be very short. I propose the question that clause 41 be part of the bill. Mover.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 41 be amended as per the order paper. Honorable Chair, clause 41 reads that no matter of thing done by any person under this act shall, if the matter of thing is done in good faith, render that person personally liable to any action, claim, or demand whatsoever. We are amending that to include that that particular person would have to act in accordance with the law. So we want to amend the ambiguity so that even when they give that information in good faith, there must be in accordance with the law. And we would really like to thank Honorable Njeri, the county MP for Kirinyaga, for pointing this out and making sure that we adopt it in our amendments.
All right, I propose the question that clause 41 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 41 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 41 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover, move reporting. Majority Leader.
Honorable
Majority Leader.
Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
I put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
All members, you may take your seats.
Minority side, take your seats.
Order, members, order. Chairperson. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Thank you. The mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Betty Minor to second the motion for agreement with the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Betty Maina.
I second. From where I'm seated as the minority leader, I second the bill.
Of course you are not. Because you are not. Though members, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report.
Put the question.
Is it the members that put the question?
Yes.
Members, I put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many other opinions say aye? Aye. Will as many other opinions say nay? Ayes have it. Mover. Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, be now read a third time. Honorable Speaker, before I call the Honorable Hillary to second, allow me to take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to thank all these members, including those seated on the minority side, for their very active participation, even those who are belatedly calling for division like the Honorable CNN. And this is the true spirit of democracy, that often the majority will have their way and the minority will always have their say. And today we have seen that democracy being exercised in this House, that the majority of members of parliament who believe that this is an important agenda for our country, the majority of members who believe that we are dealing with a time bomb of millions of our youth who are unemployed, sitting through this sitting, Honorable Speaker, and even with the support of a few within the minority. And Honorable Speaker, allow me once again to single out the Honorable Member for Funyula, the Honorable John Buddy, the Honorable Harry Kombe, the Honorable, my good friend, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, who even in absentia from outside the country, took time to propose amendments to this particular bill with a view to improving on what we are legislating today. Honorable Speaker, the members like the Honorable Professor Nyikal, who is a very diligent member of this House, the Honorable Haro, who has taken time together with his Muslim brothers and sisters to make sure that there are amendments that ensures that this bill captures the spirit of the Sharia law, that even as we charge interest, we do not offend our Muslim brothers and sisters as they prepare for the holy month of Ramadan. Let me congratulate the Honorable Haro and the other many Muslim brothers and sisters who are here today, who have taken their time. Honorable Speaker, again, as has been said in the past, Honorable Speaker, we are a House, Honorable Speaker, we are a House that debates and considers all matters that of concern to the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, as an administration,
where's your card? Okay, then we would ask you to be orderly. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you can allow me to continue and ignore the member for Kilifi, the county women rep for Kilifi, who did not have the time to propose amendments. And I was saying this is a house of debate. This is a house where I was saying, as an administration, as Kenya Kwanza, we value every member of this house. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, you saw those amendments by the Honorable Professor Oudo that made sense. We supported. The amendment by the Honorable Nyikal on the qualifications of a chairperson. And I must thank the Professor Nyikal, Honorable Oudo, peace stations. We don't legislate by talking in funerals. We legislate on the floor of this house. And that is why I'm taking time to congratulate those members of the minority who have taken time. Unlike many other cowards, Honorable Speaker, who opted to walk out believing that they could intimidate other Azimio members. And I must congratulate these Azimio members who are in the house this afternoon, because they have withstood the intimidation and the coercion not to do their work, withstood the intimidation to ensure that she is here to legislate not just for her people in Kilifi to get affordable and social housing, not just for students from Kilifi to be able to access institutional housing and policemen and women in Kilifi County, but also teachers and health workers in Kilifi Sub-County Hospital. And welcome back, Honorable Nyikal, who has come back in absentia. I was congratulating him for being a very diligent member of parliament who takes his work seriously as a member of parliament. Professor Nyikal, being a veteran member of this house, we truly appreciate your input, especially in this bill, Honorable Nyikal, because your amendments on the chairperson, I was saying in your absentia, Honorable Professor Nyikal, that what you said on second reading in the bill, you actualized it by bringing amendments to enrich what was provided for by the proposals of the bill. Honorable Speaker, allow me to immensely congratulate members of our Kenya Kwanza coalition. These members went out together with the President and the Deputy President in 2022. And in every constituency that we went to, we promised the people of Kenya that housing as an agenda would be actualized under the Kenya Kwanza administration. I am happy, Honorable Speaker, that we have a president who has chosen to do not what is politically expedient, not what is popular, but what is right for this country. He has chosen to do what is good for millions of our young people who have no jobs. As I said in moving this bill, Honorable Speaker, this bill is about employment creation. It is about wealth creation. It's about helping Kenyans to access affordable homes, creating new home owners, and therefore generating new wealth in our country and helping to grow our economy that was destroyed by those who are telling us today that when they look back, they feel like crying. And I have to tell them they have every reason to cry. Because if in 10 years, you could only implement or build 1,900 houses. Only 1,900 houses in 10 years. But you now see an administration which in less than a year is doing close to 40,000 houses and is on the verge of accomplishing the promise to do a minimum of 200,000 units per year. Honorable Speaker, I must thank all these members for their diligence, for their commitment, not just to the manifesto that they sold to the people of Kenya, but their commitment to their own constituents who have sent them to come and represent them in this house. These are the heroes of our country. These are the heroes of our country today who have the feelings of their people at heart. Honorable Speaker, we had debate some time back on the cost of living. When we spoke about implementing the Kenya Kwanza manifesto on production subsidies, others chose to don sufurias on their heads, Honorable Speaker. Today, as I said yesterday, unga is retailing at a low of 114 shillings from 260 shillings, Honorable Speaker. In the same breath, Honorable Speaker, in another 2-3 years, the people of Kenya will bear us witness and we will stand vindicated that the decisions we have made today are right for this country, they are for posterity, They will secure the future of millions of our people, Honorable Speaker, and I must thank all these members. Finally, Honorable Speaker, this bill creates an opportunity for infrastructural projects across all our counties, Honorable Speaker, without exception. I am glad yesterday, during the second reading, as we voted during the division, the member for Suba South, the Honorable Karoli Omondi, was keen to note that the first phase of affordable housing in Homa Bay County is complete. Homa Bay County, Honorable Speaker. Ruiru, Honorable Speaker, in my own county in Kiambu, the media have reported to us that the crime rates in Ruiru constituency, and the member for Ruiru is here, he can bear me witness. Crime rates are going down courtesy of this housing agenda and the jobs created by this housing agenda, Honorable Speaker. And I want to tell the people of Kikuyu, the ground that has been broken between us and Kabete constituency, 756 units will be done. We broke ground last week, a week ago, Honorable Speaker, and very soon they will see those houses coming up. The Muguga Agri-City, Honorable Speaker, that people are speaking about, and I know there are those who, the naysayers, those who feel like crying today, were instigating people within Kiambu County to oppose this program. Muguga Agri-City will become a reality with a minimum of 14,000 houses. Honorable Speaker, including my good friend, the member for Githunguri, who I must congratulate her because she did not just oppose this bill. She proposed amendments, although she dropped all the amendments, except for one or two that were also defeated. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also take this opportunity to assure the people of Githunguri constituency in Kiambu County, they shall not be left behind. They shall not be left behind. And I must again thank the Honorable Kagoa Lydia, who has helped us in Githunguri constituency to identify land to build over 2,000 housing units that will also incorporate a cultural center for the Mau Mau freedom fighters who fought for our independence and for our land, Honorable Speaker. The people of Githunguri shall not and will never be left behind on account of the retrogressive politics that you may find elsewhere, Honorable Speaker. We shall carry everybody aboard, whether it is Homa Bay, whether it is Kikuyu, whether it is Karachuonyo, whether it is Turkana Central, even the people of Nandi. And I must thank the Honorable Joses for his diligence to ensure that the people of Nandi benefit. Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, I wish to request the Honorable Hilary Kosgei, my member of parliament in other quarters, member for Kipkolion West, my ancestral home, to now second.
Thank you. No, before you second. The Honorable Muchomba, 1 minute.
It is out of order. Is it in order, Mr. Speaker, for the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah to mention my name in congratulating me for having put amendments throughout this process? And then I sit with lies that I have dropped all the amendments, yet it is in record that I have not dropped all the amendments. It is not right. This is an honorable house where we speak the truth, and the truth is backed by facts. And the Hansard is there, showing that my amendments, not all of them have been dropped. Is it in order for the Honorable Majority Leader, a leader we respect from Kiambu County, and even in this House, the member that we give a lot of respect for being the Majority Leader, and a senior member in this House, to put things that are not factual and true on the floor of the House, and worst of all, to attack a woman leader like myself?
Thank you. The Honorable Mbadi, what is out of order?
Mr. Speaker, the last time I checked, our standing orders were still relevant. And I don't know why this House is encouraging and allowing the Majority Leader to disparage other colleagues. You can have political differences, but you cannot purport to use the third reading of a bill to talk about your colleague and to disparage her. It is in bad taste. It is wrong. You cannot use your privilege as majority leader, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm on a point of order. Now, you are majority leader and you don't even know the rules.
Go ahead, Honorable Mbadi. Go ahead. Go
Pardon?
ahead. Go ahead with your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, if you listen to majority leader speak, she is continuously referring to the constituency of another MP.
Minority
Close
Whip,
to
we will
discussing that
listen to
member
Honorable
of
Mbadi in
parliament
silence.
in the House. You came to parliament the other day, my friend. You can't teach me points of order. You came to parliament the other day. Whether elected, you came the other day. I've been elected 3 times. So you keep quiet when I'm speaking, you get your opportunity.
Honorable Mbadi,
Stop heckling.
order,
If
order,
leadership
majority
of
leader and
majority is heckling.
Majority leader, majority whip,
mimi
order.
siwezi kuninini.
Order, members, order. Don't the majority whip and don't the majority leader. Order. Order. Honorable Mbadi will go on and finish your point of order so that you proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we can't have.
Could you proceed and finish your point of order?
Mr. Speaker,
And
the leader
remember,
of majority,
Honorable Mbadi,
the leader of majority,
Honorable Mbadi, remember
yes.
to address the speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Address the
I'm
speaker.
exactly
Go
addressing
ahead.
the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority has no authority to misuse his position. That position you have does not belong. Whether you heckle me, I'll talk. Mimi, how many people have heckled me in this parliament? Do I care? You can heckle me for whatever you want. You will not stop me from talking.
The Honorable Mbadi, you have 30 seconds to skip your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the majority leader is out of order, discussing Gathoni Wamachomba in this House and her constituency. She represents that constituency by right. She was voted.
Order, members. It's a very small matter, and this matter shall be sorted this way. I've just confirmed from the clerks at the table that the Honorable Wachomba's amendments, some of them were moved as required by law, and I would request the Honorable Majority Leader to address that matter as raised by her without casting aspersions and without going personal to her.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And if you listen to me carefully, Honorable Speaker, you hear I said I congratulated the member for Githunguri for not only opposing the bill, but also proposing amendments, some of which she dropped. It is also on record, Honorable Speaker, that many of her amendments were dropped because I have been seated here throughout. Honorable Speaker, the other thing I take offense with, because the Honorable John Mbadi rose on a point of order, and he's a ranking member and he knows I respect him as a former leader of minority. But he cannot rise on a point of order claiming that I am disparaging a member for stating a matter that is a matter of fact, then use the same opportunity to attempt to lecture my deputy leader of majority that he came to parliament the other day. The deputy leader of majority and member for Kilifi South was duly elected by the people of Kilifi South now for a second term. And he was not brought here by anybody, he was brought here by the people of Kilifi South. Unlike John Mbadi, who was nominated by his own party, having failed as a governor. You cannot disparage an elected member of parliament when you are nominated on account of having failed as a governor.
We let the matter lie there, members. I will now call upon the Honorable Hillary to second the motion.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And I wish to second this motion and to say that, Mr. Speaker, this is a great day for Kenya. Today, Mr. Speaker, studies have shown that by the year 2050, 65% of the population of Kenyans will be urban. What this bill seeks to cure is another Kibera going to the future. And Mr. Speaker, those who were not in the House and those who oppose this bill are the ones who have benefited from exploiting the Kenyans who live in slums as voting machines. And Mr. Speaker, the Bible says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 16, that you shall know them by their fruit. You do not expect people who benefit from slums to support an idea as noble as this, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wish to congratulate every member who has sat through this bill, who has helped this country to move forward, and to say that, Mr. Speaker, the generations coming will thank the House that sat to pass this bill for solving a problem, a generational problem, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we create jobs, we are looking forward to rolling out this affordable housing, even in my constituency in Kipkelion, where land is already available for putting up houses. And I want to ask the executive to concentrate, Mr. Speaker, first of all, to give housing to those people who support housing, so that the new converts will follow once they see the success of this project, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate the members of Jubilee for standing with the people of Kenya to pass this important bill, and to say, Mr. Speaker, that Kenya will never remain the same. And to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya for scoring many firsts, giving Kenyans affordable fertilizer, where we got a bumper harvest. Majority Speaker has alluded to the fact that unga today is retailing for between 110 and 140. And 110 and 114. So, Mr. Speaker, these are the benefits of the administration that has chosen to bite the bullet and to do the right thing for the people of Kenya. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to second and to say thank you so much to the members seated here today, and that history will vindicate you in the many years to come.
Thank you. Members, order. Order. I propose the question, which is that the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 for 2023, be now read a third time. Is it the mood that put the question? Yes. Thank you. I have confirmed that the House is properly constituted for the purpose of making a decision, and I therefore put the question, which is that the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 for 2023, be now read a third time. Will as many other opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many other opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Hello, members, I want to thank you so much for your patience this afternoon. And go ahead.
Very good. A bill for an act of parliament to give effect to Article 43, 1B of the Constitution, to provide a framework for development and access to affordable housing and institutional housing and for connected purposes.
Honourable members, the decision has been made already. We've just completed that process, and the bill has now been read a third time. Allow me to thank all of you for patience and being in the House for this momentous task, and thank the Honourable Martha Wangari for her time in this very difficult bill. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, report of the National...
On this matter, the Honourable Peter Kihugi had a balance of 4 minutes. The Honourable Kihugi.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I start to support the report of the Dialogue Committee. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that dialogue was extremely necessary for this country because we had come out from a very hard time. We had come out from elections, and I want to thank the two principals who agreed to come and sit down and think about the nation. Mr. Speaker, we support the issues that are raised by the Dialogue Committee, the issue of entrenching the CDF fund in the Constitution, the issue of considering the World Development Fund, especially also the issue of increasing the equitable revenue share for counties from 15% to 20%, And Mr. Speaker, also on the issue of constitution of IEBC. IEBC is extremely critical, whereby we come up to a consensus so that we may continue to improve on its performance. Mr. Speaker, one thing I can say is that we have continued to improve on IEBC because most of the issues that have been raised mostly are on the presidential. But when you come to the lower levels where the MCA, the MP, the senator, the governor, we are almost perfecting. And if we come good on this issue, we will be able to perform well on IEBC. Mr. Speaker, my issue is on the annexes. The annexes on the amendment of the Constitution. There is somewhere there is an amendment of the term of the member of parliament and the term for the senator, whereby in the amendment, in the annexes, they have said that the senator should go for 7 years and the member of parliament remain at 5 years. Mr. Speaker, that's an issue. I know it can bring contention or division maybe among its members, and I wish the committee should consider on that amendment, whereby the senators have been considered for 7 years. That is allowed amendment Article 105, 102, 103, 105, whereby senators have been considered for 7 years. That, Mr. Speaker, is an issue I know can bring issue on the issue of the dialogue. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it has been said that it will be the adoption or the amendment in the Constitution will be made by parliamentary initiative. I have seen some members of parliament maybe who are raising issue whether we will go for referendum or we work with Article 256 of the popular initiative by parliament. Mr. Speaker, if I must ask, I could wish we come to consensus whereby we can work on the popular initiative of Article 256, whereby as parliament we can be able to raise the 2/3, but we come to agreement on the issues that are a bit contentious. My also proposal is that as we add 5% from 15% on the equitable revenue share, we consider the 5% toward development. We have off-roaded the national government through NGCDF, through the equitable share to counties. We must also off-road the money going to the counties. Because the more you give counties, some of the counties, they increase on personnel. Therefore, the 5% that we are adding from 15% should be considered to go and cater for World Development Fund, so that that money can go directly to development. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, my issue is that that section where senators, I don't know who did put that because it has been very silent, but when you go to the annexes of the amendment, you find that senators have been considered to go for 7 years and the other members are considered for 5 years. That's an issue I think should be looked at because it can raise issues.
The Honorable Wanjiku Muhia. The Honorable John Namoit. Members who don't, the Honorable John Namoit. I have a dashboard that I look at, so I will follow it. The next is the Honorable Beatrice Elachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise, Mr. Speaker, to speak on this report, to appreciate the committee, to appreciate indeed the President and the Prime Minister for agreeing that a country is more better, more beyond each one of us. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as I start, I would want us to really appreciate that even women in this country are Kenyans who came. They presented, Mr. Speaker, even as I appreciate the different clauses that are there and appreciating that now when the Senate is going for 7 years, it is going to cure the issue of you being a senator, you go or you become a governor, you finish 10 years and you come back to become a senator and you decide you are going to look to your own accounts, which ethically is very wrong. But Mr. Speaker, I want to speak on the issue of the 2/3 gender rule and to appreciate what the majority leader said and what the minority leader said, Mr. Speaker, in supporting and ensuring by principle that indeed in the NADCO report, they picked and they recommended, indeed, we shall achieve the 2/3 gender rule. But Mr. Speaker, we have to come out of the confusion that we have put. When you look at the report, Mr. Speaker, in the intro, it is very clear we presented to Bomas our recommendations. Thereafter, Mr. Speaker, we had different groups that came in, and you realize the multisectoral also came in, and their presentation was based on the formula. And therefore, by principle, we are saying this House, the 13th Parliament, based on the goodwill of the President, we shall achieve the 2/3. Mr. Speaker, what I want to plead with this House, that indeed, if the report of the multisectoral that deals with the formula is presented in this House, procedurally, we must adapt, since we have not seen the other reports of how we are going to ensure the 7 years work, how we are going to ensure the MCS fund comes in, how we are going to ensure IBC is established, and therefore, even as the women, I am pleading with the leadership, I am pleading with the country, I am pleading to the President, to the Prime Minister, that when our report comes on the floor of this House, we shall adapt and adapt it as one report with the NADCO report. Mr. Speaker, all these confusions, oh, we are told women are under the bus, we want to say the report is very clear. Article 463, 464 explains very clear what the committee said and what we need to adapt. And therefore, all I am pleading is to ensure, Mr. Speaker, this matter of the 2/3 gender rule. I am pleading with the National Assembly members that we can work as a team and ensure we pass it. And therefore, I am requesting the ministry to ensure they bring in the report so that we can look at the formula and adapt the formula, Mr. Speaker. I also want to thank every man, every champion who has stood on this agenda, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, the most important thing is that when JLAC will be bringing all the, I'll call it omnibus, of all these other proposals that are there, the proposal of 2/3 will be part of it. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we should not allow again to go back to the days when we are saying, now again the 2/3 will come alone, it will be a standalone. We are saying and we are pleading by procedure, based on what the majority leader and the minority leader agreed, we can agree as a House, support, and I believe the National Assembly will indeed make women of this country know that we are one, we are there to walk a journey together, to see the development of our country. Mr. Speaker, it is very sad when women are told in this country that we will have a balloon budget or they will do. Is it only the women? Why is it so easy to give 7 years to the Senate, as much as I'm supporting that proposal, that it is so difficult to agree on this proposal? For me, by principle, I know it is in the report, and therefore it will be very unfortunate that we can come and start now speaking on different tongues on this report, on this issue of 2/3 gender, when the President was very clear that this will be his, indeed, achievement for the women of Kenya. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support and plead that we really need to appreciate when the report comes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for the Dagoretti South.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. And I want to take this opportunity to first thank the wisdom of the President and the leader of opposition, the former Prime Minister, in finding the wisdom to have the country cool down the temperatures and sit on the table and have a conversation about the posterity of this nation. Mr. Speaker, the wise people tell us that when the debate is lost, that is when the arguments set in, and that is when violence sets in. But we are civilized people, Mr. Speaker, so that Kenya as a country is able to prosecute the matters that we find to be a thorn in the flesh in a decent way. And the National Dialogue Committee presented such a case. Mr. Speaker, I also have to thank the leadership of the Leader of Majority, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and the Leader of the Wiper Party for steering the ship to a stage where we have a report before us and we are able to debate it before this House. Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest achievements of NADCO is placing the problems at the place where they can find solutions. Mr. Speaker, some of the issues that are being discussed at NADCO would not get a solution anywhere else. It could not get a solution in the streets. It could not get a solution in the bars. Some of the issues needed legislative remedies. And the only house tasked with the responsibility of legislation is the House of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, so this report is now properly and procedurally before the right place, so that this House can do as it wills, because it is guided by Article 95 and 96 of the Constitution to do what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, we are just coming out of the third reading of the housing bill, Mr. Speaker. And you remember that the housing as an issue came up in these NADCO negotiations. And there was a push and pull about housing. But Mr. Speaker, without going into the details that we have canvassed this afternoon, it is important to see how our deliberations this afternoon were well informed by what was conversed during the NADCO negotiations. But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, NADCO gives us an opportunity, unlike the previous commissions that have been held in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have had the Ndongo Land Report. We have had the Kriegler Report. We have had the Truth and Justice and Reconciliation Report. Mr. Speaker, these are reports that are gathering dust, because we as Kenyans, at that point, we did not have the courage to face the devils that have been bedeviled this country for decades, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it was during the BBI debate in this House that I said that if we had implemented the Ndongo Land Report, if we had implemented the recommendations by Kriegler, if we had implemented the report called the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Report, Mr. Speaker, we would not have needed BBI, because the issues about land that are being canvassed, that had become an historical issue, had been canvassed in the Ndongo Land Report. The issues of historical injustices have been canvassed by TRJRC. The issues about election injustices were in the Kriegler Report. So, Mr. Speaker, we as a generation now have an opportunity through this NADCO report to make things right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also shall take this opportunity to place it on the floor of this House that the decision made by His Excellency the President must have taken a lot of magnanimity on his side, because I am sure that there are people on the side of the President who were not seeing the import of sitting down and negotiating with the opposition. There must have been people who are breathing fire to the leader of opposition, the very esteemed Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, saying to him that he should not sit down with opponents. But because of their wisdom, Mr. Speaker, we now have a report before us. Mr. Speaker, I could not end this debate without putting my
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, I am the Mr. Point of Order in this House. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 83. Mr. Speaker, and you must not allow anybody, particularly in the group that started with me the 11th Parliament, like the Honorable Opio and I, my very good friend, you should never allow them to stand on no point of order. In fact, Standing Order 83...
What is out of order?
It's out of order, Mr. Speaker.
What is out of order?
No, in fact, I'm just reporting that.
Okay, Mr. Point of Order. What is out of order?
Mr. Point of Order, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have a problem with my gadget here. I have been pressing it, it keeps switching off. I don't know whether it doesn't like me. And, and you know, I've been sitting here.
Okay.
I have asked here, they told me it cannot be seen. I have tried to intervene, it cannot be seen.
Thank you. The Honorable Chekonga, what was decided this afternoon is that no member will be allowed to speak just because he came and said he doesn't have a card.
No.
So, order.
Yeah.
I request you to approach the ICT. They'll give you a new card if this was not working. You come and log in. I will not give any member a chance to speak if they don't have a card today. The Honorable, the member for, what sort of order? And the Honorable Wandai.
No, Honorable Speaker.
We cannot discuss the AU Commission job. No.
But how, Honorable Speaker, the Speaker is anticipating
Go ahead.
what I want to say.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, you know, actually, I really like the presentation by my friend, Honorable Kiari. He's my very good friend. And he spoke very, very eloquently, as he always does. But Honorable Speaker, is really in order. Is the Honorable Kiari in order to insinuate that by the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga bidding for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission, he will be ending his political career? Where does he get the impression that Raila Odinga's political career is about to come to an end?
Did I hear you?
Raila Amolo Odinga is just 79 years old. Just 79 years old.
Did I hear you, the Honorable Kiare, to
He
suggest
said that that is a better way of ending his political career.
Did I hear you saying that?
He said that.
Okay. The Honorable Kiare, did I hear you saying that?
Mr. Speaker, I would not want to dilute the honor that we were bestowing on the former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga. And it is not lost to members in this House, no less the leader of minority, that the Honorable Raila Odinga has had a very long and illustrious political career, to the point that
this would be the apex of his politics if he were able to ascend to be the chairperson of the AU Commission. This would be the highest honor bestowed on a gentleman who has had an illustrious career. Mr. Speaker, that does not amount to an upward displacement, and I do not wish in any way
to retire the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, because his presence in the politics of the country and this, and this continent is still needed, and Mr. Speaker, and his service is still desired. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I personally don't believe that this House is not suited to discuss any of these matters the two of you are sparring over.
We are ill-suited. We cannot determine anybody's fate, whether positive or negative, in that regard. The next member to speak on this matter is the Honorable Ngusia from Mwingi West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on this matter of national dialogue. Mr. Speaker, you would recall that when we started demonstrations, I advocated for dialogue in many media houses, Mr. Speaker. And I thought it was the only way to help in Kenyans. And from the onset, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate my party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, for steering this committee very well, together with the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah. And of course, Baba accepted all what was included in this dialogue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I love the way the matter was conducted throughout the country, consultation after consultation. So many people participated, and this committee was able to filter what is more critical in our country. And we propose the following, Mr. Speaker, and that is why I'm supporting this dialogue committee. Number one, restructuring and reconstitution of IBC. Our IBC has already been labeled, and we have one constituency which is not even represented in this House, Mr. Speaker. And for us to do this,
we have to have a properly constituted and also restructured IEBC very quickly. Expansion from membership of 7 members to 9 members. Mr. Speaker, I think it is a good idea. Let us not see, or rather witness again, what we saw in point number 2. There was time for resolution of presidential elections petitions. This one, we move in from 14 days to 21 days of hearing the petition of the president. And most of the time, when we have had this, when I recall, Mother Koome was so under pressure actually to meet the deadlines of these petitions. And sometimes when the judiciary is under pressure to come up with a conclusive matter like this important issue, Mr. Speaker, it needs a lot of time and consultation to make sure each and every evidence is heard, Mr. Speaker. The other issue was entrenchment of funds into the Constitution. We have been out of the court. We have been in court many times, Mr. Speaker, questioning the legality of NGCDF and GAV. Mr. Speaker, if at all we are going to move out of this chaos every time, and every time governors actually being used by people who have got vested interest in this matter, and even Senate Oversight Fund into the Constitution, and will be able to make progress on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other issue, of course, is a very important one, which was establishment and entrenchment of state offices of leader of opposition. You realize that most of the time, this house we have got only minority leader and minority chief whip. But Mr. Speaker, assuming that currently Mr. Raila Odinga Omolo is here, even Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is around this house, Mr. Speaker, this house will be having a meaningful and, of course, a very good debates in matters of debate in our democracy, Mr. Speaker. That is why I think this country needs a properly funded leader of opposition with all the shadow cabinet minister. We should never, as a country, many political parties as possible to grow the democracy in our country. And that is why let us not only legislate on this matter. We need a commission that is independent, a registrar of political party commission that is independent to do the issues of management of political parties' funds and...
The member for Manyata.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to take this opportunity to put my thoughts in saying that I have keenly read the report, and I want to first say that, Honorable Speaker, it is something that we need to think about, that this report came after some chaos that came from one of the principals saying his election was stolen. Honorable Speaker, that brings me to my first point, that we need to cure the curse of losers of presidential elections causing havoc and forcing this country, Honorable Speaker, to a standstill for either benefits on their coalition. And Honorable Speaker, I believe that while we are actually conversing on this report, it is important to see a continuous dialogue committee. And Honorable Speaker, I believe the Truth and Reconciliation Committee should always be there to continue with the conversation of bringing people together whenever there is havoc, without the issue of people going to the streets, putting their sufurias on the head. And Honorable Speaker, that can be something that can help this country. Honorable Speaker, we should not always converse when there are chaos. but we should always converse when the country is actually moving on well, and that is why I believe the offices that have been suggested must always bring that conversation between the minorities and the majority, Honorable Speaker, in this country. Honorable Speaker, while I'm thinking about this NADCO report, Honorable Speaker, and the many suggestions that have come up in terms of the offices of the official opposition, and Honorable Speaker, I'm thinking we also need to think a lot on the size of the government that has been introduced in the 2020 Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I believe as far as Kenyans are working so hard, paying taxes, we have a humongous government that is actually taking a lot through recurrent expenditure and denying a very crucial part of our development in this country. And Honorable Speaker, I believe the issue of entrenching the funds, especially the NGCDF fund and the NGAF, and also the word for it, Honorable Speaker, is something that I welcome in both hands. Honorable Speaker, I have seen many members of county assemblies really begging their governors, singing praises to their governors so that they can survive, Honorable Speaker. I believe not only should we give them a word fund, but they should be made clearly autonomous and their activities be clearly identified and funded directly from the budget, Honorable Speaker. That will make them be more effective and they will be able to carry out their duties of planning the county governments and oversighting on what is being done by the county governments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we also move on, we also need to look at the issue of elections, Honorable Speaker. It is unfortunate that at every election, at every point that we have finished up on elections, Honorable Speaker, there is always chaos in this country. And Honorable Speaker, it should bring this House into some sort of a discussion on how to cure completely the issue of plunging this country into chaos whenever there is just a mere general election. Many countries, Honorable Speaker, that we look up to have actually had elections in a year, and if you go to that country, you don't even notice or identify there's an election that is coming or that has just been concluded. Honorable Speaker, I believe that would be the ultimate source of praise for the 13th Parliament and of the NADCO committee, Honorable Speaker. I also propose, Honorable Speaker, a continuous NADCO committee engagement. And I believe, Honorable Speaker, we should see how this conversation can.
Thank you. Members, let me just mention the fact that on this motion, we will have a balance of 28 minutes. In those 28 minutes, I would request us that if given a chance, do self-regulation so that I'm able to give for this side and for this side before we close. If you could use 3 minutes, the better, so that we have able to balance our interest to speak. This chance now goes to member for Meru Adikir.
Thank you, Speaker, for also getting this opportunity to put my mind on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I wish to state here that this committee which was handling this matter, and I want to thank the members who are actually dealing with this matter in Bomas, especially the majority leader and the leader of opposition, or acting leader of opposition, Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka, and many members who are working on that particular meeting. Mr. Speaker, I'm also one of those few Kenyans who would wish that in every election, there has to be transparency, there has to be conclusive determination of who wins the election. And this can only be done through a free and fair election, Mr. Speaker. The reason why we held this meeting is because there has been almost in every election, there has always been a serious contest. And these some of the issues which we must put to rest. My only contention with the proposals made by this committee is amongst them the IBC. Mr. Speaker, I would have wished, if it was possible, we allow IBC to work like courts. Mr. Speaker, sometimes we believe if we were to put members from parties to be represented in IBC, maybe they can do some justice. Mr. Speaker, it has been done so before and nothing has come out of it. Look at the courts, Mr. Speaker, how the Supreme Court president and the rest of the courts judges are appointed. They go through rigorous interviews, and eventually they get appointed to serve in those particular courts. And they have never seemed to be serving any one particular person, whether the ruling government, whether the opposition. The Supreme Court has always been very universal in their rulings. It is because we have sober people who are serving those positions, Mr. Speaker. And of course, because of the people who have been put on those positions are held in high esteem. Mr. Speaker, I don't understand why we cannot also afford the IBC commissioners the same opportunity, like we are affording the same opportunity to the Supreme Court judges. Let us allow the IBC to be selected or to be put on the same rigorous interview, just like we are doing with the Supreme Court, and allow them to work. Mr. Speaker, but the question, the day we start putting members from parties or parties proposing people to those particular positions, Mr. Speaker, that will be the end of IBC, and it is supposed to be a commission that is independent. Mr. Speaker, I also feel that the proposal to have NGCDF and NGAF in our law is very important. It's very important because the functions of ICDF has always been very vital to ourselves and the people who we are serving. On the question of boundaries, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how we are going to do that, but sometimes I believe our taxpayers are overburdened at times. Sometimes if we want to serve our people correctly, let's increase funds to the constituencies and maybe using the one man, one shilling. And that one can serve our country. You know, we don't have to hide our heads or bury our heads in the sand. It is a reality. There's a constituency having over 300,000 and another constituency having over only 20,000. We must serve Kenyans correctly. On the question of 7 years by senators, I don't mind, even if they go 10 years. After all, those are elders who are just serving their heydays or so we don't have any problem. On the issue of two-third gender rule, Mr. Speaker, and this one I wish you allow me more minutes, on this gender rule, it has always, I've never understood why we cannot make it, Mr. Speaker, on appointive position, we say it must be 50%. But on elective, this one depends on the people. How do you force people to elect whatever gender they like or they don't like? So on that part, Mr. Speaker, I wish I would have, if I'm given opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to amend, I want this House to return to the parliamentary. They will be answerable to the people who elected them. So, Mr. Speaker, if I was to get an opportunity, amend this proposal, let's have members of cabinet here, let us have the position of the Prime Minister, and stop calling it names. Let's call it the Prime Minister, and have the Prime Minister in his house, so that we can have 3 strong positions in this country, actually 4. The position of the President, the position of the Deputy President, the position of the Prime Minister, and the position of the opposition leader. 4 serious positions which can serve this country correctly. Mr. Speaker, I'm hoping to bring an amendment on the same.
Member for Molo. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I beg to add my voice on this NADCO report. And one of the things I want to congratulate them for is because it hopes to resolve the conflict we have after every election. It is very sad, Honorable Speaker, that it is like we try to fold our country every time we go to elections. We tend to leave our brains at home. We start looking at each other as enemies, and becomes a very long political process. The campaign period means that very few government projects are being implemented around that time. businesses and investors employ what you call wait and see, because they do not know what will happen during elections. Then immediately after election, we waste another almost 1 year. And therefore you find in a span of those 5 years, the time that a government has time to work is only 3 years. So the rest of the 2 years is wasted on political context. So if this is going to fix that political context, that is a step in the right direction. The boundaries review is also very critical. We are looking at seeing possibilities of, for example, of adjusting our boundaries, adding additional wards, for example. One of my areas in Molo is a place called Sachangwan that we all feel as a people should be a ward by itself. And therefore, so this will give us a chance to review that and possibly have additional wards. For example, the Sachangwan ward, that would be great. On enshrining the funds in the Constitution, again, this is a very, very welcome move. I think the importance of NGCDF cannot be overstated. Some of us, including myself, is a product of NGCDF. My secondary school, my university education was sponsored through bursary, and therefore that this NGCDF continues is something that should be very, very welcome. Most important, I'd like to laud also the inclusion of GAF in the Constitution. We've seen what county MPs have been able to do with the allocations being done in GAF, and most importantly, propel them into other elective positions. You've seen people that have served as women rep, for example, former women rep for Homa Bay is now doing an amazing job as governor for Homa Bay. So it's a very great step in the right direction. On the creation of the office of the official leader of opposition, sometimes I feel us in government when we say that the opposition leaders should propose other ways of doing something better. Sometimes I find that unfair because they do not have the mechanism or the resources to do that. So the creation of the official leader of opposition means they're going to have someone who can have a shadow cabinet, so that when you're doing the BPS on this side, they're also doing a BPS on the other side. They're challenging the government programs that are and suggesting doing something better. Lastly, on the 2/3, I strongly believe in women leadership. I am a father of a daughter, and I believe they should be given an equal chance. I believe our current environment of political competition creates an unfair environment for women, and therefore the inclusion or the enactment of the 2/3 gender rule in our Constitution, not just in leadership, but I would suggest even for other offices of.
I think your time is up. Member for Marakwet West. I said I will give for this side and for this side. So I just want to get done with this side.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important report. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the report for the following reasons. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that came out very clearly in the report is the issue of IEBC. Honorable Speaker, there was a recommendation that the panel be expanded from 7 to 9. Honorable Speaker, as we speak as a country, we find ourselves in a situation where we've never been. We are in a constitutional crisis in as far as IEBC is concerned. Honorable Speaker, as we sit in this house is not fully constituted because we lost a member of parliament, the MP for Banissa. Honorable Speaker, Banissa constituency. Honorable Speaker, a member of parliament is elected to this house to represent, to legislate, and to oversight, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, that particular constituency is not represented, and therefore, that constituency does not have a member who will oversight, who will represent and legislate on behalf of them. Honorable Speaker, if the law allowed for holding of brief, we would have another member from a nearby constituency holding brief for that particular constituency. So, Honorable Speaker, it's a crisis that we must be able to resolve, and the only way is to adopt this report and we initiate a constitutional amendment so that we fully constitute IEBC. Honorable Speaker, the issue of winner takes it all is what has given us a crisis in this country. It has what has led to election disputes. I support fully the creation of the office of the leader of official opposition so that any person who gets the second highest number of votes becomes the leader of opposition. Finally, Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate, it is regrettable that the 2/3 gender rule was not factored in the report. Honorable Speaker, it is something that should have been considered. If it is brought as a single item in this House, Honorable Speaker, they have tried in many occasions, but it has never been passed. It is unfortunate, it is regrettable, and I hope that we shall cure it through an amendment of the Constitution using any other means apart from this report. Honorable Speaker, for those reasons, I rest my case.
Thank you. Member for Seme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, let me start by appreciating the principles that allowed this to happen and the leader of majority, leader of the minority, the work they did in this. But Mr. Speaker, the most important thing about this report is that the committee was started when the country was actually burning. And whatever we may think about it, it actually brought some little harmony in the country and some peace. And therefore, this report, what will be important is that when we are implementing, we must be sincere to the report. We have said we'll pass it as it is, but that is about the report. There are many other elements that will come after that, and if we lose that sincerity and commitment to the welfare of the country, we will go back to where we were. That is the most important thing about this report. Mr. Speaker, looking at the restructuring of IEBC and other electoral rules, Mr. Speaker, it is important to have Parliament, the political parties, the churches, and even the law society involved in the selection panel is a good thing. But all that area, there are about 9 legislative proposals that are coming. And if we go to that and use the rule of supermajority that we are having here without actually looking at the interests of the country, we will miss it again. We will miss it again. So we must continue with the sincerity and not just use the rule of supermajority without details and without looking at issues and the interests of the country. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the boundaries delimitation is we are actually in a crisis because we have actually passed with this March. So the proposal for 10 to 20 years instead of 8 to 12 and providing that Parliament can change it is something that is good, that if we put that in our legal and constitutional structure, it will be okay. Mr. Speaker, the 2/3 gender rule, let me say something about the 2/3 gender rule. It is a clear indication of what we politicians think, that we can solve technical problems. We will not. Putting figures to be achieved by an electoral process cannot work. And the only option we have is go to Article 177 as applied with the county assemblies and Article 90. That, Mr. Speaker, is what will help us. NGCDF and the World Fund and GAF, Mr. Speaker, the NGCDF has actually shown how funds can be used effectively. And in my mind, putting it in the...
Member for Magarini.
Asante, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kunipatia nafasi hii nikaweze kuongeza sauti yangu katika mjadala huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nichukue nafasi niwapongeze wahusika wakuu kwa kuona ni bora waweze kuja pamoja na kuileta nchi iweze kuwa kitu kimoja kwa kuanzisha mchakato huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono taarifa hii ya NADCO na hasa nizingatie kile kipengee cha kuweza kupata theluthi moja ya wabunge wakaweze kuwa aidha wa jinsia ya kiume ama jinsia ya kike. Ikizingatiwa idadi ya wale ambao wanachaguliwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependekeza ya kwamba ile tofauti baada ya uchaguzi, ile tofauti ambayo inahitajika kujaza lile pengo ndio tukaweze kupata ile theluthi moja ya jinsia, basi hiyo ikaweze kugawiwa vyama vile vitakavyokuwa ni vyama vya bunge, kwa Kiingereza parliamentary parties, ili wakaweze kuchagua ama kuteua wabunge wa jinsia hiyo ambayo ina upungufu. Hivyo basi tutakuwa tumekwisha tatua swala hili la jinsia, theluthi moja ya jinsia. La sivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, itatuchukua miaka na mikaka kuweza kupata suluhu jambo hili. Pia vile vile nipongeze ile ya kwamba tukaweze kuwa na NGCDF katika katiba, na pia vile vile tukaweze kuwa na ile hazina ya wadi. Hii itasaidia sana ule mvutano unaoonekana wakati mwingine baina ya magavana na wale wawakilishi wa ward. Lakini si iwekwe tu bila mipangilio, Mheshimiwa Spika. Vile ilivyo NGCDF iko na mipangilio na inasimamia vitengo.
Member for Elgeyo Marakwet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Just a minute. Honorable Kalimil, I see you doing this to me and I can't see your card. I can't see your card on this dashboard. So could you approach the table and see? Go ahead.
Thank you for giving the people of Elgeyo Marakwet this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And since I have patiently waited to debate, I think I'll zero in to two-third gender, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak loudly about it because I don't want us, especially the ladies, to be left in that debate, Honorable Speaker, because we have had a problem in this country. And I've always said that whenever we talk about two-thirds, people always look at ladies, and not only ladies, but they never think that it can be their daughters or other people in this country, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I've even sat in this house, and men have been speaking while I was the only lady for over 30 minutes who've been alone here and not given an equal opportunity to represent even the ladies who are not here. So I want to support, and I thank the President because he's so passionate about two-third gender rule. There are some things that we should try as much as possible to ensure that we bring some equity, or we ensure that all gender is well represented, Mr. Speaker. Number two, let me talk about NGAF, CDF. Many people in our constituencies and our county rely or depend on CDF, especially the bursaries for school-going children. Long ago, before the CDF, Mr. Speaker, I would see members of parliament and even the community fundraising for children from the needy families to go to school. But since the inception of CDF and GAF, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that it has, even so many members of this parliament are beneficiaries of CDF and GAF. It should be enshrined in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is also good that we have official opposition leader in the House. And many a times, people in the opposition might lose direction or might lose interest in the House business because they might not, okay, they do have the whips, they do have the leader of minority, but at times when there is no leader of official opposition, members tend to relax. And we need opposition to ensure that the government is kept, is checked properly, Honorable Speaker. So it is good that we get the official opposition, we get the Prime Minister in this House, and to ensure that each and every time issues are there, the majority and the minority are well represented, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to commend the team that did this report, led by the Majority Leader and His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. I want to thank the President and the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, for giving the country an opportunity to talk to one another. We have an opportunity to amend the Constitution through this report, Honorable Speaker. And through this report, a proper public participation was conducted where members of the public were able to contribute. Honorable Speaker, reconstitution of the IEBC is very important. We need to hold those by-elections very urgently, but we need an IEBC that is respected in this country. We need to, there's an issue of boundaries review as well, Honorable Speaker, in my constituency. There are two wards, there are two areas where Uhuru have always wanted their own ward, Tena have always wanted their own ward as well. Honorable Speaker, the position of Leader of Opposition is welcome, but it must be well-resourced, and I like that the Chair Finance mentioned that. So that office is independent and respected. It cannot be a position that is given, that will be micromanaged by the executive. It must truly be a position that can bring proper opposition in our country, Honorable Speaker. The issue of staggered elections and senators having different terms, Honorable Speaker, I must disagree with this one. Otherwise, we will keep our country in perpetual campaign. Because if you have an election 5 years and then somebody else has an additional 2 years, 7 years, that means we'll be campaigning throughout. And I think that's the one thing this report was trying to cure, so that how do we manage these elections? How do we ensure that we finish elections and get back to the issue of building our country, Honorable Speaker? The issue of political parties, the sanity, that's why we need that independent office of the registrar. Especially, Honorable Speaker, those of us who are in Jubilee, elected in Azimio, we feel harassed and forced that we are supposed to exit the coalition that brought us to Parliament, Honorable Speaker. So there must be sanity, and it's important that that office exists in a manner, and that's for the future of our country, so that there's proper democracy in this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issues of the election petition, I know has been proposed to 21 days, but we must learn from the US election of 2020. You saw President Donald Trump dispute and exercise all other different channels, despite the uprising that was there. But he went to court and it took time. I think we need more than 21 days. We need probably 30 to 45 days so that our Supreme Court can